On her wedding day, the bride was forced to fish boiling hot eggs out of a pot of water with her bare hands. This was all because her cruel mother-in-law claimed it was a ritual to make sure she'd have a son. As she screamed in pain, her husband just stood there laughing, while his female best friend made fun of her for being a wimp. It turns out the husband had just been promoted to general manager of the huge Anshi Group and thought he was a big shot now. But he had no idea that the poor orphan wife he was bullying was actually the secret daughter of the Anshi Group's billionaire chairman. 5 years ago, she had cut ties with her wealthy family just to be with him. Now that her mother wanted to make up, she secretly gave the guy this promotion as a way to test him. As expected, the money showed his true colors right away. He let his female friend roll around in their wedding bed and openly plotted to discipline his bride to make sure she knew her place. On the morning of the wedding, the best friend showed up wearing a white dress that looked exactly like the bride's and rudely took over the makeup artist. When the bride asked what was going on, the husband furiously yelled at her for being petty. He claimed his relationship with the woman was purely like brother and sister and that she was just a tomboy. He even cruelly forced his wife to have this woman as her bridesmaid. Watching the two of them sing romantic love songs together while ignoring her, the woman wiped away her tears. She decided that if they dared to humiliate her one more time, she would reveal that she was a billionaire heiress and completely crush them. On her wedding day, the bride was humiliated by the groom's female friend, who blocked the door and publicly asked the groom when they first slept together. The groom just laughed and admitted they had all crashed in the same room back in high school. The friend wasn't done yet, as she had purposely thrown the bride's wedding shoe out the window to stop the ceremony. When the bride checked the security cameras and exposed the lie, the groom didn't even defend his wife. Instead, he comforted his scheming friend, saying his wife was just being difficult. In the car, the friend kept trying to brainwash the groom, telling him that women have to be controlled or they'll walk all over him, and that he needed to show her who's boss that day. The groom, believing his wife was just a sad orphan with no family to back her up, agreed to let his friends teach her a lesson at the wedding. However, what they didn't know was that the woman they were bullying was actually the hidden daughter of the country's richest man. At that exact moment, her mother had just landed in a private jet to back her daughter up. The city's most powerful billionaires were rushing to the wedding with priceless gifts just to get on her good side. The groom thought he could humiliate a nobody, but he was about to face the anger of the most powerful family in the world. The first thing the bride did at her wedding was flip the banquet table and slap her scumbag groom across the face. It turned out that on her big day, her husband's so-called childhood sister had interrupted the ceremony to make her follow a disgusting village custom. She blocked the aisle and demanded the bride crawl on the ground to show she knew her place. The woman looked to her fiancé for help, but he just yelled at her for being a wimp and ordered her to do what his friend said. The mother-in-law even sneered that as an orphan, she should be grateful just to marry into their family. But the humiliation didn't stop there. The vicious friend brought out a bucket of boiling manure water and forced the bride to fish out eggs with her bare hands, claiming it would guarantee she'd have a son. When the bride's best friend tried to step in, the groom violently pushed her away and threatened to strip her naked. Pushed too far, the woman finally exploded. She bit the groom's arm to get away and exposed how the friend was trying to steal her look with the same makeup and shoes. In a fit of rage, she slapped the groom, flipped the table, and announced that the wedding was off. The bride had just trashed the entire wedding reception in a rage, but the shameless mistress still had the nerve to lecture her. She stood proudly next to the groom and mocked the woman for being an ungrateful orphan who was lucky to even be there. The scumbag husband immediately took his lover's side, claiming she was his best brother and that the humiliation was just a test of the bride's patience. He pointed a finger at his wife and demanded that she apologize to the mistress right then, or the wedding was off. He expected her to beg for forgiveness, but the woman simply told him to get lost. The mistress was furious and screamed that the woman was a wild child with no mother to teach her any manners. Suddenly, a powerful voice boomed from the entrance, asking who dared to say her daughter had no mother. The crowd froze as a billionaire CEO marched in with a group of bodyguards, ready to destroy the entire family. But the clueless mistress still sneered, thinking the powerful woman was just a poor relative coming to beg for food. She made fun of how the mother looked, having no idea that this woman could destroy their entire family with a single phone call. The groom continued to gaslight the bride, insisting she was overreacting to his friend's blunt personality. Disgusted, the mother took her daughter's hand to leave, but the groom warned his ex-fiancée that she would regret walking away. When they tried to leave, the mistress stepped in front of them, rudely demanding they pay the family for every broken plate before they could go. The arrogant woman demanded the bride pay for the wedding, but she was instantly shut up by a brutal slap. It turned out that the groom's family was a nest of vipers who only cared about money. The evil mother-in-law scolded the bride for canceling the wedding and making them lose face, but the shameless husband revealed the truth. He admitted that even though the bride had paid the full down payment for their luxury house and car, he had tricked her into putting them only in his name. He acted like he was the victim, claiming he didn't want a dowry while he was actually stealing her property. The bride was disgusted because the mistress was pretending to be a lawyer for the family to help them scam her. The mistress demanded $300,000 in payment and mocked the bride for being poor. She even insulted the bride's dead mother, saying she had no one to raise her properly. This completely infuriated the bride. She didn't waste her breath arguing. Instead, she gave the mistress 3 lightning-fast slaps across the face, finally shutting her dirty mouth. After being slapped, the scum of a man wiped his face and claimed he was the real victim, saying he only canceled the wedding to get away from his violent bride. His mistress immediately backed him up, arrogantly announcing that the legendary Jade King was coming to bring a gift just to honor the groom. The evil mother-in-law was instantly blinded by greed, demanding the bride kneel and apologize to share in their glory. The mistress then insulted the bride's mother, making fun of her for coming empty-handed and eating their food for free. She didn't know that the woman she called poor was about to reveal a shocking identity that would crush their entire family. The girlfriend sneered, pointing out that the woman's entire outfit, if it were real, would be worth more than a house. She carefully listed each item, from the $10 million watch to the limited edition Hermes bag that costs $8 million all by itself. The woman simply said that she never wears fakes. But the girlfriend kept up her attack, focusing on the high-quality emerald bracelet on the woman's wrist. She claimed a piece worth over $20 million was something the woman could never afford, and accused her of showing off fakes to rip people off. The groom began to doubt his in-laws, asking his wife if her family was really as poor as his girlfriend claimed. The girlfriend then mocked the bride for giving up her life as a rich heiress to suffer with a poor man, all for love. This infuriated the bride, who stepped forward and warned the girlfriend that she would slap her if she dared say another word. The girlfriend was unfazed, calling the bride and her mother savage and crude, and a disgrace to the groom's family. The groom's parents then stepped in, siding with the girlfriend. His mother declared that her son was way out of their league and demanded they pay for the humiliation before they were allowed to leave. It was only then that the woman finally revealed the truth. She looked at the groom and said that a simple general manager of the Jiangcheng branch was completely worthless in her eyes. The girlfriend scoffed, not understanding that the woman was talking about her own company, the Anshi Group, a corporation so rich it was like its own country. The woman then turned to the stunned girlfriend and asked her if she finally understood who the woman was, now that she knew the groom was nothing more than an employee. The girlfriend laughed, refusing to believe the woman could be the president of Anshi Group, and accused her of shamelessly pretending to be the president. The woman, tired of the insults, said that she had been willing to spare the groom's feelings for her daughter's sake, but she didn't have to anymore. Since they doubted who she was and claimed she couldn't afford a real dowry, she decided to show them the wedding gifts she had brought. At her signal, a line of men in black suits marched in, each carrying a silver briefcase. The girlfriend immediately mocked her for hiring actors with prop boxes, claiming they would be filled with junk. The groom then turned on his new wife, blaming her for making a scene just because he wanted to save face. But the bride fired back that his dignity became worthless the moment he let his family and girlfriend humiliate her. Ignoring them, the girlfriend dared the woman to open the cases. The first 2 were opened, revealing stacks of solid gold bars. The guests were stunned. The woman calmly explained this was just a small allowance for her future son-in-law. The groom, realizing his mistake, could only stare in disbelief. The next cases were opened to reveal trays of priceless jewelry, including a 999-carat diamond necklace worth over $200 million. Finally, the last gifts were shown. The deeds to 9 luxury mansions across the world, each worth over $100 million, and the keys to 2 supercars. The woman explained this was all worth just $900 million. As a final blow, more briefcases were opened to reveal $10 million in cash, which she called a small gift for her son-in-law. The groom was left completely speechless. With all the wedding gifts revealed, the mother of the bride gave the stunned groom one last chance. She told him that if he showed even a hint of being a real man and respected his wife and their marriage, all the money would be his. The greedy groom was about to agree when the girlfriend's cousin, a manager from the Jade Pavilion, arrived with another gift. On the orders of the Jade King himself, he was there to congratulate the groom on his wedding. The groom, seeing his chance to lock in his good fortune, gratefully accepted the case of priceless East Sea pearls. The manager then told the groom that with his new connection to the Anshi Group, his future had no limits. But the arrogant girlfriend, still in disbelief, grabbed the green jade bracelet from the mother's wrist and ripped it off. She announced she was going to have her cousin, an expert, prove the bracelet was a fake. She claimed that a jade bracelet of that quality was the town's greatest treasure, something only the Jade Pavilion could own, and this poor woman couldn't possibly have it. The mother ignored them and demanded the cousin return the jade bracelet she was holding, warning her that she couldn't afford to pay for any damage. The cousin laughed, calling it a cheap fake and accusing them of being too scared to have it checked out. To expose them in front of all the guests, she called over her cousin, an expert from the famous Jadeite Pavilion. He examined the bracelet with a magnifying glass. The shine, the texture, the carving, he said, it was clearly the work of their top master. But then he announced it had to be a fake. First, a piece of this high quality only belongs to their boss, Liu Heng, and would never be sold. Second, it had a tiny character micro-engraved on the inside, a technique so difficult and risky that his company no longer did it for the public. Hearing this, the cousin gloated that their pathetic scam was full of holes. Convinced she had won, she sneered at the bride and asked if she wanted the fake bracelet back, before purposely throwing it to the ground and shattering it into pieces. Only then did the mother speak. She revealed the truth. The bracelet was never for sale because it was a personal gift, hand-carved and polished by Liu Hang himself, who had it flown to her estate, begging her to accept it. The expert scoffed and asked if she really thought she was the chairwoman of the An Corporation. He arrogantly offered $10 to pay for the broken trinket, but the mother stared him down with ice in her eyes. She said coldly that even Liu Hang wouldn't dare speak to her that way, and that the expert was just being reckless. The cousin launched a final vicious attack, sneering that the bride only pretended to be innocent so she could find a pushover husband to leech off of for the rest of her life. Believing every word, the groom turned on his new wife with a disgusted look on his face, accusing her of scheming against him. The bride could only stare back and ask if he had water for brains for believing the lies of some clown. Confident they had won, the expert called Liu Hang's secretary to publicly expose the frauds. But what they didn't know was that the mother had already called her own appraiser. As he calmly collected the shattered pieces from the floor, he gave his professional opinion. He announced the bracelet was made from a top-tier imperial green jadeite, personally picked out by the jadeite king Liu Hang. It took him a full year to polish it into a gift for the chairwoman of the An Corporation. He revealed that the value of the material and work alone was at least 50 million, but with a personal meaning from Liu Hang, its market price was a staggering 100 million. The cousin and groom were frozen in shock. In an instant, every guest in the room realized the terrifying truth. This woman was not a fraud. She was the head of the An Corporation, a business empire so huge it made Liu Hang look like nothing. And her daughter was not a gold digger. She was the legendary sole heiress. A wave of pure terror washed over the faces of the groom and his cousin as they finally realized the catastrophic mistake they had made.